All right, we'll call to order the regular business meeting for the Board of Education for March 30th to order. Can we all stand and recite the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, well done. Roll, please.
Jim Batson,
Here.
Don Carmichael,
Here.
Pat Grudy,
Here.
Lisa Hessel, Kevin Huber,
Here.
Karen Lundstedt,
Here.
Casey Rooney.
Here.
Okay, so we note for the record that we have everybody here tonight. Our agenda will involve any public comments. There are none, is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. For those who didn't know, we asked for public comments by email. I guess we didn't get any. We will have the superintendent's report. We'll approve the consent agenda. We'll have brief updates from program and personnel and facilities and finance. And that should be it. All right. Okay. With that, we will move to the superintendent's report.
Okay, well, good evening to board members and other attendees tonight. Let me first thank the board and the district leadership team, which includes John and Tom, for their incredible work in working with me over the past 3 weeks now on coronavirus-related tasks and things to do regarding the school district. So their help has been invaluable, and we're really appreciative of that. They've spent many hours with me in the evenings and on weekends, reviewing things that need to be done and looking forward. So we're very appreciative of that. I want to particularly thank Mary for her work with me on many of the detailed communications that we've needed to put out. First on our unfortunate couple of staff members that contracted COVID-19, and also the many updates to our communities. I think by and large we've gotten very good feedback on those communications. So thank you very much, Mary. As everyone knows in the community now, based on my last two messages, the final one coming on Sunday, that we are now in e-learning mode starting tomorrow. The governor has closed schools through Tuesday, April 7th, although we all anticipate that is going to be extended further. But officially, based on his executive order on Friday night, we will begin what we call e-learning on Tuesday, tomorrow, and we will continue that until such time that the students are able to go back to school. A couple of other thanks here. One to Union President Dennis Duffy and the district union leadership team. Any of the application of the e-learning prior to this and moving forward had to be technically impact bargained with the association. Dennis and the association here, the union did incredible work with us, not surprisingly, I might add, incredible work with us to make that happen in a very expedient manner. And we're very appreciative of that. And of course, a huge thanks to our teaching staff and our support staff for their preparation for e-learning. And then to begin that process the week before spring break and really do it in earnest starting tomorrow. And one more shout out to Rita, who worked with a number of our staff members to put together our e-learning plan about a year ago. And we're just very fortunate and very happy that we have an e-learning plan to fall back on because districts that did not have an e-learning plan now have 5 days to plan to put one together and try and make it work under some pretty difficult circumstances. So lots of people involved in moving us forward at this point, and we're very appreciative of that. And short of that, unless the board has other specific questions about coronavirus right now, we can move on. Any questions?
Just one on the e-learning. So, I mean,
Sure, Pat.
Obviously we set that up for the occasional emergency day, but if if this goes on for an extended period, are we able to continue to do that?
Well, let me touch on that first, and then we'll have Rita can jump in on that. Pat, I think it's an adaptation of what we originally designed. So the answer to your question is, the teachers had a couple of days of prep work to get ready for that. And I think they've done some amazing work, and they've done some amazing work with their colleagues to really expand the initial idea of the e-learning being for a snow day or a cold day or a couple days together of emergency days. But yes, I think we'll be prepared and we'll continue to adapt. And I think we are all convinced that however long we're going to be out, the longer that we do it, the better we're going to get at it because of the quality of the staff and the commitment of our staff. Rita, do you have some other things you'd like to say about that?
Sure. I was just going to add that we did pull together a team, including union representatives and the original team that worked on the e-learning plan that was presented last year, but also the one that we presented to you in August for approval to send on to the ROE. So we met on March 12th to revise that with the idea of longer term e-learning caused by the COVID virus. So we made adjustments then. We made adjustments again when the active God days were declared that didn't allow grading. And we've made adjustments since to address now remote learning days. So we've had conversations and made iterations to the plan that really addresses these longer term remote learning experiences. And that's been a collaborative effort with a lot of people having input into that. So I as kind of said, we are good to go. There will be questions that come up, and we'll deal with them as they, as we encounter them. But I think everyone feels pretty good about what we were able to do to make this work from what we had originally designed.
Yeah, great job. I mean, it's amazing. You can see all the trouble Chicago's having. They're talking about having on an emergency basis to deploy hundreds of thousands of units of IT equipment and things like that. Thank goodness we were in a much better position for that.
And we had administrators and teachers that were willing to work through spring break.
Absolutely.
To really get up to speed, which I really can't emphasize enough how above and beyond everybody in the district, from the administration to the teachers, have really stepped up to give, above and beyond to get ready for what's ahead of us.
Yeah. And Prentice, not to get ahead of this, but I'm sure the obvious question in the community will soon become, what about graduation?
Well, we're going to approve the contract for coming years at Sears Center. So it's pretty timely, Pat. That's actually a great question. And I think at this point, what we would like to do, it is likely that the governor may choose to close schools for another 2 or 3 weeks, let's say the end of April, and then sometime during that period, look at the health data again, which is what should drive his decision making, and choose to maybe close us to what would be our end of the year. So in preparation for that, Tom Calentis, principal at LHS, and Sandra, his executive assistant, have been working with Sears Center, where a number of 35 or so high schools graduate from, including us. And we already have a tentative June date in the middle of June, and we will soon have a July date there as well. And then I've also talked with John, and what we would like to do, it's the one thing that we can control this year is up until probably the end of July-ish, when kids would start leaving to go to school or other obligations, we can still have a graduation. There are some other things that may not go this spring, depending on what the decision-making is based on health data. But one thing we could do is to do graduation. So right now, our thinking is that we want to try and do a graduation rather than just cancel it, Pat, at this point, although we haven't made that decision yet. So we've got some time to do that one. More imminent and probably in the same conversation would be the proms. And so, of course, we're reviewing that again with my conference call with the Illinois High School District Organization Exec Board and one of the vice presidents from ISBE today. There are a number of schools that have early proms. They've already canceled their proms. So we haven't done that yet, that those decisions would be forthcoming. And then, of course, spring sports, and then all the spring fine arts things, everything in the rotation. So those are things we're all thinking about kind of on the second and third levels now that we're kind of through the initial crisis and we have a plan to move forward. But it would be our intention right now to try and do the graduations, even if it's after school is normally out, because it's the one thing that we can control this year, assuming that at some point in the near future, there starts to be a decline of the curve, starts to flatten at some point.
Okay. I looked at the latest IHME data. I don't know if you guys are following that at all, but it shows the curves by state. And I think right now they're saying Illinois, their projection is around April 16th is when it should hit its peak. So we'll see. It's a model. I don't know how good it is, but that's what it's saying.
Well, that would reinforce a decision to go probably until April, right? At least, for sure. Yeah.
Because just because it's at the peak doesn't mean that. The great news on spreading the curve is we won't overwhelm the health system. The bad news is it'll be with us 2 or 3 times as long. So.
It's going to be longer. Yeah. So I think right now, our ISBE rep today believed that the governor has been making his school closing decisions on Tuesdays. So tomorrow, maybe the next closing statement that he makes. CPS has decided to make their own independent decision to go longer. And then, as Pat, as you indicated, to do prep work and then start their version of whatever they're going to be able to do for e-learning, I think on the 13th, moving forward. So, there's not a template for this. And as the administrative team and as we talk, every conversation we have about this is historic, because there's no template to go back and say, what did we do 10 years ago when this happened, right?
Yep. Okay. Any other questions on that? Okay. Back to you, Brennis.
Okay. Next on the superintendent's report tonight, we have a couple of annual renewals that we do. The first is the Illinois High School Association school membership. And again, that is the guiding organization for all athletics and competing student activities. And so, of course, we would recommend that we approve our membership renewal. Pat?
Okay, is there a motion to approve the IHSA membership renewal?
So
I'll make
moved.
that motion. Then I'll second.
Okay, you got that? Okay. All right, any discussion? Roll call, please.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel.
Gotta unmute.
She may be
Unmute.
muted.
Sorry.
Okay,
Aye.
there you go.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Ombudsman program.
Okay, as those of you that have been on the board for a while know, we lock in several spots at Ombudsman. It's one of the alternative programs that we use that works for our students and parents who we work with, sometimes that need an alternative situation. And we base the slots that we ask for renewal every year really based on history that we've had in the past. It's cheaper to kind of do the blocks that we do now rather than to buy more or add more later, to do them one at a time along the way. So this has been a successful program that we partnered with way before I came into the district. So Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to add to that?
No, and
So
we've been pretty consistent on using our spots. So, we're getting what we, put a contract forth for.
So just one explanation. So if we had, let's say one of our, they're all year long slots, but let's say, for one, we had a student that was in there for, I don't know, the rest of a semester, for example. And then the next semester, they were either out of school or they're transitioning back into regular school. We still have that slot available to place a student for, let's say, second semester. So we don't have to buy another slot. So that gives us some latitude. This is different than the ROE school, which is more a direct expulsion alternative in its focus. So again, Pat, we would recommend that the
Okay.
board vote to renew our agreement.
All right, is there a motion to renew the 2021 Ombudsman Program Agreement?
So moved.
Second?
All right, any further discussion? Roll call, please.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
All right, motion
Do
carries.
we miss a Batson in there?
Yep.
I'm so sorry,
There you go.
Batson. I'm sorry. Thank you. I apologize.
Every vote counts. Yeah, aye.
It does. I apologize.
Good.
Hey, Pat, one other thing. We don't have an other under here, but it's not something we have to vote on, just going back coronavirus related. Listen, both of the schools have done some amazing work and continue to do some amazing work in making sure our free and reduced lunch kids have access to food while the buildings are closed, and that will continue. And that's really cool, really needed, but it's really cool, the group of people that are working on that. And secondly, they're doing a number of secondary things, but one of them is that we've had several of the health organizations in the area ask us for, everything that's PPE related. And so the schools are pulling that together, and we're allowing health agencies to use that. I think our nurses have been involved with that, and the administrators in the building in terms of doing that. The other thing that I have let the state and Lake County know is that if we have even a bigger spike, let's say in Lake County, and the hospital beds get full, they may need some staging areas or some other areas for patients. Given our central location in the county with Libertyville and Vernon Hills, we would be an ideal location for that. So if there's a need to do that, we've certainly offered our facilities. Of course, I would, let all of you know that before we did that. But I think they're appreciative just knowing that schools are willing to work with them if they need that, as they do some advanced thinking on this.
And I would assume, let's say, for example, if we offered up a gym or something like that, that would only be done if the schools were still closed.
Right. Oh, yes, of course. Absolutely. Right.
Okay. All right. Great. All right. Anything else?
That's it, Pat. Thank you.
All right. The consent vote agenda is listed. We reviewed it earlier this month. Can I ask for a motion to approve the consent vote agenda as listed?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second.
All right. Any discussion? If not, roll call, please.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael.
All right. Motion carries. Program and Personnel Committee, Chairperson Preston.
Okay. Have a number of items here. The first one is the amended 2021 school calendar.
Rita, do you want to talk about those?
Sure. So the proposed amendment to the 2021 school calendar really involves moving a planned institute day from March 1st to May 13th. In response to a request that was presented to the board to schedule a non-attendance day for the holiday of Eid. That request came from students and many people who spoke at the board meeting. The calendar committee met subsequently and reviewed the calendar and determined that switching of the institute day from March 1st to May 13th really would achieve that goal without making any other changes to the calendar.
Thank you. Yeah, this was discussed earlier in committee as well, and I think we had good support for this. Do we have a motion, please?
I move to approve the amended school calendar.
Second.
Okay, any further questions or comments, discussion?
Nice
Nope,
work on
hearing
this.
none.
Thank you.
Okay, thank
Hessel,
you.
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy.
Okay, that motion passes. We have the proposed calendar for 21-22 Gosh, it's hard to think we're already that close. Any comments on this? Rita, do you have any
It
quick
really,
background?
that calendar really follows the model that we've now established, where we can backward design the calendar from the graduation the Thursday before Memorial Day, and we administer final exams before first semester. We include in this calendar the recognition of a non-attendance day with an institute day on the day that Eid is celebrated in May of 2022. So it really is a calendar that models everything that we've done with the 2021 calendar that you just approved.
Okay. Can we have a motion, please?
Move to approve the 21-22 calendar.
Second.
Second.
Okay, whoever gets there first, I guess. Any comments or questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. We have a annual staffing report.
Bryant, go ahead. You have anything you want to add on the staffing report?
Oh, as we discussed, and it seems like a month ago now, but at our committee meeting, we, after we had finished all of the sectioning of all of our courses at both buildings, then we presented you with the staff report of, the staff that we need to be able to hire for next year. There was an increase for our special education staff, and there was an increase in our general education staff. And as we talked about in committee, the staffing at the high school level is a lot different than at a grade school or a middle school where you have like a first or second grade. Our students choose classes, and our classes, vary in sizes depending on lab space, the type of class, AP. And so when you have more students choosing, it's hard to say if you just have 50 more course selections, that's just going to add 2 FTE or 2 teachers. It all depends a lot on their course selections of what classes they're exactly taking. So, we do have an increase going into next year, which does reflect there is an increase in enrollment that should be at Vernon Hills, with a slight decrease in enrollment at Libertyville. Hopefully the next committee, we have analyzed the data a lot more. I've worked with Andy Young and Oli, and looking at kind of some history that I want to be able to show, to you that you had asked for at the last committee. How many course requests per students, total course requests, and how that reflects changes in FTE. So we do have a little more data. I just thought it'd be very difficult to be able to show to you today over, Zoom. But we have analyzed that, and looking at that, we feel we're in line exactly where we need to be from the last 5 years. And, I know Rita had looked at it, Dan and Prentice, and then we looked at it with the buildings, and it really reflects changes in enrollment, but also course requests are accurate to what our FTE changes should be for next year.
And just one, as part of that, remember that we're taking back one of the special ed programs next year. And, instead of paying CEDAL to do that, we'll be doing that. And then we've set the stage to possibly take back the transition program the following year, which will not be kind of an exact one-for-one. And Kelly's talked about that at one of her, Kelly Hartwig, Director of Special Ed, has talked about that in one of her two trips to committee meetings, and we'll bring Kelly back to talk about that a little bit more so we all understand, what that is. and how that would work if we took that program back. And we'll need a year to kind of plan that program and get ready for it because of the magnitude of that. So that'll give us a little time to talk about that, before we push forward with even a planning year on that. That's not, by the way, that's not part of the staffing recommendation for this year. So nothing's changed since, we went, what we presented to you at the committee meeting.
Okay.
Hey, this is Kevin. Is that document in here though? I don't see that document and that we talked about.
The document is not in there.
Yeah, it's not in the packet,
No,
in the electronic packet.
no, it's not.
Okay.
We probably should add that though, right?
We can.
Yeah, we can send that. We can send that to you. It's a updated document from last time.
We've seen it, so I'm not concerned about it from the standpoint of I've seen it. I'm more concerned about it if anybody wanted to FOIA the records from the meeting or something like that.
Yep,
Sure.
you can add that.
Okay. Okay, can we have a motion to accept the staffing report as presented?
I motion to accept the staffing report as presented.
Second?
Okay, any other further comments or questions or concerns? Okay, roll call, please.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. Next on the agenda is a annual employment recommendations for the continuing employment of first year non-tenured, second year non-tenured, third year non-tenured, fourth year non-tenured faculty. And this is all one motion, correct? The honorable dismissal of non-tenured and the non-renewal of non-tenured. So we have all those components to this.
Correct. And you have all the documents in the same order that they're listed on the agenda.
Okay. Do we have a motion, please?
I move to accept the annual employment recommendations for the items listed. Second.
Okay, any questions, comments? This was all reviewed earlier in the committee meeting, so no surprises here. Okay, can we have a roll call, please?
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt.
Aye.
Okay, that passes. We have a couple of items that came in after the committee meeting, so we have, we do these all in one motion?
Right.
Okay. We have a administrative staff replacement, a certified staff replacement, and 2 coaching extracurricular staff replacements. So any other explanation? I think these are pretty self-explanatory.
Correct.
Do we have a motion, please?
I motion to accept the staff replacements as listed.
Second.
Anybody have any questions or comments?
Ann Fawkes is a first-year teacher, and next year she's going to be the aquatics director. Did she come from one of the feeder districts?
So actually, she's been with us longer than that. So she's just finishing her first year as a full-time faculty, but I think she's been on staff for 6 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, she was at D70 for a little bit, but she's been with LHS for 6 years, teaches lifeguarding, works with our summer program with aquatics, does event supervision for John Woods. And so she's around the pool a lot.
All the time.
So it's a great transition to go from Eric as the aquatics director to Ann.
Great.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions? Okay, roll call, please.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney.
Aye.
Okay, that motion passes, and that concludes the Program and Personnel Committee.
All right, thank you. Facilities and Finance, Chairperson Huber.
All right, so we've talked, I believe, Dan, we talked about all these items at the committee meeting, yes? Yes?
Yeah,
Correct.
that's correct. I don't know if you want to one at a time or what do you want to do?
No, we'll go one at a time. I just want to make sure nothing, didn't look like anything was added. So
The
Sears
only-
Center, go ahead.
The only thing that would have been added, Mark, correct me if I'm wrong, would be the lead remediation. We actually have those
Yes.
proposals. And then which one of the bid awards, Mark?
It was just the lead remediation. We had an update on that. The other
Okay.
bids were already in the package.
Okay.
All right, so we're going to go relatively quickly then. Sears Center area license agreement. This again is for what, 2021 and 2022,
Correct.
right?
Yes.
The increase on those was, remind us, how much percent-wise? Not very
I don't-
much, right?
I'm sorry, I don't remember.
Yeah.
Whatever we said in the committee meeting.
And again, it wasn't significant. Anybody
It was
have any
pretty
question
small.
on that? Yeah, on that license agreement?
Nope.
All right, seeing none, if I can have a motion to approve the license agreement as presented at committee and then again this evening.
I moved.
So moved.
Oh, go ahead. Second.
Okay, any comments? All right, Carol, you want to call it?
Yes, Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson.
Aye.
All right. Vending contract with Dan's vending machine, again, was presented. I don't believe that's going to, it's included in the materials as well. Anybody, anything further? Dan Stanley?
It's not me, Dan. It's a different Dan, just to be clear. Because it says Dan on my name. It's not the same Dan. I don't know this Dan. But we've been doing Dan's vending for a very, very long time. And so both of us realized that contract had expired. And so here is a new one. It's pretty straightforward. They only generate, but one of the reasons why the board has to approve this, because again, there's a state law that says any contract that's designed to generate more than $1,000 of revenue is required to be approved by the board. So this generates about $3,000, $3,200, $3,400 on a good year. And that goes to, this is just LHS, that goes to the LHS students, or it goes to the principal's ability to use, and I think it's typically used for like student activities and that kind of stuff. So yeah, that's the contract.
All right, and this again, I think it's only for what, candy, right? Candy?
Yeah, like snack vending, not drinks. That's
Right.
that's handled with the Coke
That's
contract.
the Coke
Right.
contract.
Okay. So maybe we have a motion to approve the contract as presented, please.
I motion to approve the contract as presented for Dan's vending service.
Second.
Second.
All right, any other questions? Seeing none. Carol, want to call it?
Okay, Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael.
All right, so now we're on to the lead remediation. Mark, you want to take this one and maybe just walk us through what has changed since committee?
Okay. We had two contractors come out and take a look at the peeling paint and sealing in the locker room at Libertyville High School. The lowest proposal, they were using a subcontractor. They brought their subcontractor in, and their subcontractor was 30% higher than their quote. So they withdrew their quote. The next quote was with HEPA, which we've done contracted asbestos abatement with in the past. So we'd like to move forward with HEPA with their proposal for $35,000 $900. Our overseeing with our, overseeing the project with our consultant is $6,965 to cover 9 shifts. That's estimated by HEPA. And we'd like to put $5,000 contingency on the project. So we're asking for a budget for the lead remediation, budget number of $47,865.
And just one point of clarification. So because of these prices, it's under the bidding threshold. So we don't actually really have to have an emergency resolution like we had to have for the LHS gym. This falls under that threshold. The threshold would be $50,000. So we could have done that, but we just wanted to keep it simple. And this is really all that we need to do for it.
Not to borrow trouble, but is this something we can expect to have to do in the boys' locker room too, or?
No, we won't. This is due to the age of the roof and the insulation.
Okay.
In the roof, from when they did it, the R value is very low in the roof, probably R15, R20. So what's actually happened is this.
What does R value mean?
Insulation.
That's your insulation
Okay,
value.
thank you.
So when they fastened, the way they fastened the roof back in that day, the screws were screwed on top of everything and down through the metal roofing deck. So those are exposed. So what actually is happening is the heat and cold is transferring off those screws. And that has caused moisture and has caused the paint to peel.
The paint to peel. Okay.
Yeah,
All right.
so-
Thank you, Mark. Sorry.
You're welcome.
My building lesson for the day.
Other questions on, so what are we looking for total not to exceed on this, Mark? is how much?
47,865.
47,865.
47,865. All right. Any other questions on that for Mark? I do have one actually, Mark.
Yes.
Not specifically related to this, but specifically related to, we talked about comprehensive plan for asbestos because we went through the gym. We've gone through this locker room. We've talked about trying to get somebody from the outside to kind of take it off your hands so you guys can just, instead of freaking out about it, just kind of let somebody, outsource this thing and just, where do we stand on that with everything going on?
I'm working on finalizing a proposal with our consultant and hope to have that for you for the FNF meeting this upcoming month.
Sounds good. Okay. Any other questions of Mark? All right, seeing none, can we have a motion to approve the LHS locker room emergency lead paint remediation plan as presented?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, any questions? No. All right, Carol?
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Hi.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy.
All right, we have some other stuff. Mark, you want to talk us through this stuff really quickly? Because again, I think we've seen this stuff. Yes.
Yes, we have. Yes. The first one is the Libertyville High School standpipe system repairs. Total project cost is $97,924. The work involves rerouting the standpipe system that went out of the crawl space into the courtyard, into one of the courtyards, and it rotted over time underground. So we are rerouting it in the building. As part of that project, the classroom we're going through, we will sprinkler that classroom and we will put new ceiling and lighting in there. Total project cost $97,924.
So that's the base bid plus alternate 2 plus alternate 1, or what?
Yes, the base bid of $59,845. Alternate number 1 to sprinkler the room, $7,450. And alternate bid number 2 for the new ceiling work and lighting, $30,629.
Okay. Hey, Mark, and just one question on that. So it was interesting to me. I apologize, I didn't bring it up in committee. So $59,000 bid with a $25,000 contingency?
Yes.
There's being a lot of contingency on a $59,000 program. Number one, what's it for? Number two, did all the bids include a $25,000 contingency?
Uh, Yes, all the bids did include a $25,000 contingency. The Hill Group, that was the lowest bidder. We spoke with them and they felt that the job was reasonable and for the scope of the work, and they could do it for the price.
But I mean, can we, so we've got a good insurance policy here in 25 grand, but in theory, we should be getting this done for $25,000 less. Right?
Actually, we'll be getting it done for 30, whatever, 59,000, less than 25.
Yeah, we required the $25,000 contingency in the bid specification, so they have to include that. But this one, when it came in, obviously their bid, and we talked about this committee, was way lower than everybody else. We were like, did you remember the contingency? And went back and forth, and they wanted to honor that price for sure. So,
All right. I mean, they're lowest no matter what. So,
Okay.
yeah.
All right, other questions of Mark? All right, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the bid analysis recommendation for standpipe system repairs at Libertyville High School?
So moved.
Second?
All right, other questions? All right, seeing none, Carol?
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy, Hessel.
Aye.
Thanks.
All right, LHS summer asbestos abatement. Anything to add on that, Mark?
No, we put together our scope of work. We bid it out. Kinsale Contracting Group was the low bidder, including alternate one. Their base bid was $74,650. Alternate one was $18,000. And so total price for the project, $92,650.
All right, and we're not doing alternate two.
We are not doing alternate two.
Okay. Comments regarding the LHS Summers asbestos abatement? Any questions of Mark? All right, seeing that, may I have a motion to approve the 2020 summer work asbestos abatement work at LHS as presented?
So
So
moved.
moved.
Second? Any seconds?
Second.
Thank you. Questions? No? Okay, Carol?
Lundstedt,
Aye.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber.
Aye. All right, and last, we're going to do some maintenance on the VHHS tennis courts, I believe. We talked about this at committee. Any changes since committee, Mark?
No changes since committee.
All right, you want to just 1 minute walk us through the number?
Okay.
big number.
American Seal Coating of Indiana Incorporated was the low bidder. Their base bid was $69,000. And we chose alternate number one as our armor crack repair system as our preferred product for using. So with that, they became the lowest base bid and the lowest with alternate number one. So base bid, $69,000, alternate number one, $28,050. Total package, $97,050. And that includes a $10,000 contingency in the project, which if we don't use the money, we will get the money back.
All right. We did notice somebody was cheaper. Who was it? Sport Surface?
Sports Surf.
No, it's Sport. Yeah, Sports Surface.
Sports Surface Pros. Yes, they used an alternate product, a right way crack filler, and we're not, the consultant's not familiar with the product. And we had originally spec'd the armor crack repair product. So we felt that that was a product that we wanted to use.
Okay. Other questions of Mark? Okay, seeing none, may I have a motion to approve the tennis court maintenance at Vernon Hills High School as presented?
So moved.
Second?
Second. Thank you. All right, questions? No. Call it, Carol, please.
Rooney,
Aye.
Batson,
Aye.
Carmichael,
Aye.
Grudy,
Aye.
Hessel,
Aye.
Huber,
Aye.
Lundstedt.
Aye.
Hey, Kevin, one more thing before we leave this, the F and F section.
Okay.
I think Karen asked a question, maybe Karen, it all runs together now, but maybe last week about construction during coronavirus. And construction is an essential activity as listed by the governor. So the construction is continuing on our projects at both of the buildings, right now. So you'll see, crews out there working. And when I drove in today, they've got brick face on part of the classrooms in the back. So, things are moving along. The steel has been put on the for the roof on the gym. So there are lots of activity going on. So that will continue. Thank goodness for us, that will continue.
Quick question, at Vernon Hills, because the students aren't in the building, are they able to do more work with the cafeteria servery, or is that just going along as planned?
Mark, go ahead.
Karen, yes, we had planned additional work to be done in the servery over spring break. So when school let out early, we advanced the schedule a little bit. So yes, they are working in the servery, doing work that we wanted to take some of the time off, before the end of school year. So we are moving forward with there, and we will keep moving forward until we know more about the school schedule.
That's the one, maybe that's the one.
Yeah.
Okay, anything else then on that?
Yeah, I wanted one thing maybe to Prentice, Dan.
Sure.
And maybe also to the board. We know that the teachers are really stepping up now with this coronavirus stuff. We also know that in the grand scheme, the 1%, a lot of that criteria is for the 1% performance that come December. A lot of that stuff may be a little bit soft now because of not required, things like that. I'm not so sure we should make a good faith effort and kind of, and again, I'm not saying we do that tonight, but I challenge you guys to kind of be creative, whereas we can send a message relatively early on, like right now or next meeting, to say, hey, we're going to give everybody, maybe even including the retired teachers, that 1%. Don't even worry about that. That's going to be given to you because as of right now, we really appreciate. And again, that's such a small thing, but it's just something that, they are stepping up, and it's something that, so I just challenge you guys to think about that.
Discuss that next month at the PMP or wherever.
Okay.
Yes.
Kevin, you read my mind exactly on that. And I think we should have a relatively detailed discussion. Number one, what is the impact on our criteria? Because we know, in fact, that was a question I was going to ask Rita. AP, I understand now, is a 45-minute off.
Right.
So that's different. And SAT is not even going to happen, I guess, right?
Well, AP is the 45-minute exam. Colleges are accepting it, so we could potentially students will still have the opportunity to participate in their AP exams. The SAT is canceled for April 14th, but College Board has been working with ISB to try to schedule a fall administration, perhaps on the October NMSQT date.
Rita, you just went on mute.
Yeah, here I am. So I muted myself. So we will potentially have some of the criteria, but there will be other things that we may not have.
So let's look at that. But Kevin, I appreciate you bringing that up. I think that's real important. And I agree with you. We should try to make a statement here relatively early, because that was going to be my last comment, really. I had two. One, next meeting, should I assume then for the committee meetings, we're going to do that online here as well?
Oh, yes. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay. And then the other thing I was just going to say, number one, or really, thanks to all of you guys. The last 2 weeks for you, I got to imagine, are like hard to describe. And I say two things. One, it's amazing what you guys have been able to do. Two, from what I can see on the news every day, it's amazing how much better prepared we have been to at least kick this thing off than a lot of others. And so, look, from the bottom of my heart, it's incredible what you've done. Not just those of you that are on the phone here, but I can just imagine the people in the buildings, what they've had to go through to do this. And it's going to be hard. I mean, it's going to be really, really hard, I think, to pull this off in a meaningful way so that our kids get the last couple months of education that they need. So I completely support what Kevin brought up here. I think we need to have that conversation and see what we can do here.
Well, Pat, I think what we can do, we can look at the existing criteria and, for example, if the SAT is not coming until next fall, I mean, we can just agree to not include that, for example. So there are lots of ways that we can make that happen. And Kevin, as Pat has said, I really appreciate you saying that because that will certainly send the intended message to the staff because it won't be expected. And that will really send a great message to the staff.
Yeah, they're probably going to be in need of a boost here after a week or two of e-learning.
Yeah.
I have a quick question and maybe throw this out for the board to think about for the next meeting. Has there been any consideration to provide any kind of a stipend for the use of the teachers' printer ink and internet access? And
again, why don't we roll all of those kinds of things into
that meeting?
Too much tonight. It wasn't on the agenda, but I think, Don, any of those kinds of things we can think of. Because the last thing in the world I think any of us want is for any of our teachers to have undergone any kind of hardship whatsoever here.
Yeah.
Sure.
Just for myself, I'm open to any and all inputs, on what we need to do. I mean, I think that's a conversation we really need to have because this is just unbelievable. Okay. And
I like the idea of us being proactive about that.
I mean, I think we can say tonight we've agreed we're going to have a discussion, which is a good thing. And our next meeting is really, a week and a half away, 2 weeks away?
2 weeks, yeah.
Okay.
I just thought, sorry.
We'll have some more information. We'll probably have an update on school closings. My bet is it's at least until the end of April, but we'll see.
Just a quick thought I had when they extended the deadline for income tax. Any thought that might happen with property taxes?
Well, it's interesting that you say that. I sent Dan an email this morning from one of my colleagues who had talked to a Lake County board member, and the Lake County board member indicated, not officially, of course, as part of a board meeting, but indicated in a one-on-one conversation that we should expect that tax receipts would be delayed. And when you think about the economy and loss of jobs and just kind of what's been done, Karen, as you said, at the federal level with income tax, I think that's to be expected. Dan and I, went back and forth a little bit today regarding that. We don't know what that looks like, but depending on how long that goes out, that can be pretty catastrophic to many school districts who are kind of living on the edge to make it every day. And it could have some longer term, ramifications. So I wouldn't be surprised if that were the case, either from the governor's office or county by county, that was done just in recognition for the hardships people are dealing with as part of that. But of course, that's our major revenue stream, as we all know in our district. Dan, you want anything else?
Just for the sake of this not being on our agenda tonight, this is on our agenda for the F&F committee in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Thanks.
Okay. Anything else? If not,
I just want to recognize we have 3 student board reps that joined us tonight.
All right.
For a little bit. So Abby Kempf, Maja Gavrilovich, and Kat Corliss joined us for a little bit of the meeting. We had 8 attendees kind of in and out, but I thought it'd be nice to recognize the 3 of them for joining us.
Nice. Great. Good job, guys.
There's somebody else, there could be another student, somebody's called in on a phone, so I don't know, there's no name on it. But just wanted to recognize the three of them for joining us, so.
All right. Hey, and one other thing, just to clarify so everybody understands. Anything that needed to be signed tonight, Brian is going to sign electronically or with the stamp. I can check that out with Len Himes, and Len's good with that. So rather than, have somebody bring papers to my house and Karen's house and whoever else's house, we're just going to use the stamp and sign them off that way once they were approved in tonight's meeting.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you all
Sounds
for your support and assistance, because it has really helped keep us going. And I will say that personally, I really appreciate the notes of encouragement that you've sent. It's really made a difference. Thank you.
Rita, the fruits of your labor are about to pay off there.
Yeah. Let's hope so.
Wow. Yeah.
It was a team sport.
And a collective effort. Yep.
Yep. For sure.
We don't call you out enough, so I took the opportunity. I want to make sure you don't think we're certainly not going to miss when we know you're kind of at the center of the whole thing there. Okay.
Thanks, Pat.
Well, we can go down the list. I mean, again, I looked
Right.
at. Thank goodness we rolled out Chromebooks and all that other good stuff. So, great job, everybody. Stay safe.
Okay. Bryant, that's it, right? We good?
Did Pat adjourn the meeting?
Oh,
Not yet.
Pat,
I
yeah.
move to adjourn.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Aye. Good night, everyone.
Take
All
care.
right.
Good night.
Thank you.
Bye.
Stop recording here.
Thank you.